All right, welcome into the show. We're talking some Major League Baseball ahead of the MLB Trade Deadline live here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate all of you for rocking and rolling with us on this fine Wednesday. On the docket for today's program, latest Major League Baseball trade rumors. We're going to take a look at some Shohei Ohtani trade destinations and the top Major League Baseball trade candidates with the MLB Trade Deadline coming up on Tuesday. We're going to go live for that, actually, so if you enjoyed the show today, make sure you come hang out with us on Tuesday as well. I do want to start off with this. We have 23 people already watching live. That number going to continue to grow all throughout the afternoon as we'll be live for the next hour and change, but if you want us to stay live longer, contribute to the program and keep watching. Where are the seam heads watching from? Let us know down in the comments section. We're emanating live from the Chat Sports studios here in Dallas, Texas, and I just want to know where everybody is at because we're tapping into a little bit of a different audience here on the show. Robert saying, go Braves. Brother John saying, hi, everyone. Andrew Essien has been in the chat since prior to us starting. He's making a prediction here saying, Shohei Ohtani to the Seattle Mariners. Will the Mariners be on our Shohei Ohtani trade destinations list? Stay tuned for that. Las Vegas from Juan Hernandez. Leo from Los Angeles. We have the ATL represented from Robert, and then Leo is a big Dodgers fan. As for the latest on the aforementioned Shohei Ohtani, a unicorn, a guy who's just an incredible talent. Is he going to get traded? Is he going to stay with the Los Angeles Angels heading in to what could be his final months as an Angel before he is set to hit free agency? Nobody really knows what the Angels are going to do. It really comes down to what Art Moreno, who is the Angels owner, decides to do. He's been unwilling to trade Ohtani because he doesn't want to be known as the guy who trades away arguably the most gifted baseball player of all time. And Ohtani, since coming into the league and coming over from Japan, has solidified himself as a GOAT, a guy who's just an incredible two-way player as a hitter and as a pitcher. But my thought process is this. Look, I understand the emotional attachment that you have with Shohei here, but if he's going to leave anyway in Major League Baseball free agency, why not rebuild, get back an absolute haul, and it allows you to compete when you haven't had a winning record over the last several years and really haven't done anything since you won that championship in the early 2000s when Troy Gloss was your third baseman and Mike Scioscia was your manager, and you were going up against that San Francisco Giants team led by the great Barry Bonds. So let's tee up this question here. We want to hear from everybody right now down in the comments section. Will Ohtani get traded? T for trade, or is he going to stay for the Angels? If that's the case, then type stay. More people in the comments section here. We have Juan Hernandez, Leo, Robert, Brother, and Juan all hanging out with us. Robert thinks he's going to get traded. Juan thinks he's going to get traded. John Edward Kruger saying go Braves. They are putting together a masterful campaign. And then Brother John Causey also says that Shohei Ohtani is going to get dealt. As for some intel on Juan Soto, a big reason why we're going live today is because our video from over the weekend was very successful. So we thought, you know what? Deadline is less than a week away. Let's talk some Major League Baseball here. And on that video over the weekend, we did talk about Juan Soto. Bob Nightengale with this report that, quote, there has been no hint that Juan Soto is available. So maybe as of right now, San Diego Padres, who have been very underwhelming this year, are going to hold on to a guy in his early 20s who's already put together a great career up to this point and is one of the most feared hitters in the game. Padres more likely, instead of trading Juan Soto, to either shop Josh Hader and or Blake Snell. The Padres massively underachieved so far, and as of right now are in fourth place in the NL West. A big reason for that, the Arizona Diamondbacks, even though they've been on a little bit of a skid of late, playing great baseball this year, they've been listed as a potential destination for Shohei Ohtani as well. Another reminder, join us on Tuesday, MLB Trade Deadline Live. It will happen on August 1st. So for those of you who are big baseball fans, just subscribe, turn on your notifications. Therefore, when we do go live, you will certainly be notified. And with 50 people watching live right now, if you want more Major League Baseball coverage, I need you to show us right now. Clearly, a lot of you who are hanging out with us in the early going of the show, you like Major League Baseball. So if you want us to do more videos like this, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. It should basically be all 50 of you watching the show right now. Robert saying, I think going to a dumb trade like the Angels will always do. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, but you're saying that the Angels maybe not a smart organization. You think they're going to do a dumb trade? That would make sense. So teams in on Ohtani per Jeff Passon of ESPN. I hope that he's recovering fast, by the way. Tragic accident. He was cleaning up his home and in his yard in the Kansas City area after a storm, and a tree fell on him. Now, he's okay, but he did injure his back. But as he noted in his Twitter post, still able to stay on the keyboard. So he reports that the teams in on Ohtani as of right now do all include organizations with a lot of prospects to give up to entice the Los Angeles Angels, Texas Rangers, Los Angeles Dodgers, Tampa Bay Rays, Toronto Blue Jays, Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Baltimore Orioles. And you look at this list of teams here, outside of the Dodgers, they're all teams who are starved in trying to get to the playoffs, but also compete for a World Series trophy. The Dodgers, obviously, one of the best organizations in the game over the last decade and a half. That might be even putting it lightly. They've been on this unbelievable trajectory. But the Rangers, prior to Bruce Bochy's arrival, have been irrelevant for a long time. Tampa Bay Rays nearly won it a couple of years ago. The Blue Jays looking to get over the hump. So, too, are the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Baltimore Orioles, just looking to really solidify themselves as legitimate squads. The Orioles, the best team in the AL right now. Diamondbacks at portions of the season have led that NL West, but they just need a little bit more firepower, and my goodness, Shohei Ohtani can certainly provide that. If you want to join the show all throughout the afternoon, there's a couple of ways for you to do that. Just simply use hashtag MLB. If you have a question, you have a comment, you have a prediction, hashtag MLB. We'll get those featured up on the screen all throughout the afternoon. Or if you want to be guaranteed to be showed on the program here, you send us in a super chat, and your donations go a long way in supporting everything that we do. And we did put together a super chat menu because here at Chat Sports, we like to be informative, but we also like to entertain and educate our viewers about whatever we're talking about: NFL, college football, NBA, Major League Baseball. So if you send in a super chat, it's the rectangular box with the $sign through it. $5, we'll talk about your team. Whatever team you're rooting on, you send in a $5 super chat, you list that team, we'll talk about your squad. If you send us in a $10 super chat, I'm going to pour some beer into this beer bat, and I'm going to take a sip out of it. $20, I will bang this Astros trash can. $50, I will put an entire beer in this bat and drink the whole thing. And for a $100 donation, we're going to fill up this boot. That's 3 beers in this boot, and I'll drink out of that as well. So that right there is our super chat menu for the show today. And if you're ready to talk some baseball, I want you to type me in the chat, but I also want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Jack, Robert doing a good job of using hashtag MLB, so let's use Robert as an example here for how you can get your questions and your comments featured on the show. There are a lot of comments that come in all throughout the day, so in order for us to see them and to have them appear very easily for our process on the back end, use hashtag MLB like Robert. Here's what he asks. Will you go live for the trade deadline, and what do you think the Braves are going to do at the deadline? Yes, Robert, we're going to go live for the deadline next Tuesday, so continue to stay on top of everything that we do in the lead up to that, and then subscribe, turn on your noties if you haven't already done so. What do the Braves need to do at the trade deadline? I don't think they need to do anything. They're currently on this unbelievable pace right now. Number 1 team in Major League Baseball, the leaders in the NL East. They've been on fire all throughout this year. Do they really need anything? I mean, any team at this point can bulk up their starting rotation or their bullpen, but I think the Braves are in a really, really good spot. Would you say? Pitching. Yeah, that's really what they could do. They're a team that could put together a lot of assets for Shohei Ohtani, but they're also unwilling to kind of give up a lot of prospects because they're great at developing some of their homegrown pieces, but also at the same time, they don't like signing guys to large deals. That's why they let Freddie Freeman go. They'd rather have some of those young players go through the pipeline. Jack Lauderay, what's up?
Yeah, it's definitely pitching. That's definitely their biggest area of weakness. They just happened to be playing the Red Sox last night, and the Red Sox ended up defeating them. When you look at their lineup, there is no weak link. Even down in the 7, 8, 9 hole, they had an all-star in the eight spot last night when they were playing Boston.
Yeah.
Their entire lineup is stacked. There's nothing you need to change there. It's definitely just pitching, relievers. That's what I would do, if anything. I think they're definitely buyers because they're going to be in the playoffs, but do they really need to buy that much? I don't think so.
Yeah, John Edwards said, Chase, you're wrong. We need bullpen, maybe a starter. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Like, if they need anything, it's a back end of the rotation type or maybe a bullpen arm as well to be a flamethrower in that pen at some point. All right, if you're ready to talk some baseball, type me. We have Milky doing it. We have Jack's dad typing me, John Edward Kruger also in the house as well. Continue to type me, but also hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. 53 people watching live, 25 likes right now. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. We're going to start off with some of the most relevant Major League Baseball trade rumors, and we're going to go through some marquee players who could get dealt in the lead up to Tuesday's deadline or during Tuesday's deadline. The official show, MLB Now, live on Chat Sports, is about to begin. Tell your friends, share the video, and let's get it popping. Coming up on today's show, with the Major League Baseball trade deadline coming up on Tuesday, August 1st, we're going to go through some of the latest MLB trade rumors. And speaking of the Major League Baseball trade deadline, we're going to be live for it right here on Chat Sports. So join us on Tuesday by subscribing and turn on your notifications. Therefore, when we do go live, you'll get that push notification and you can join us in what is going to be a very informative but also entertaining breakdown of everything that transpires during that day. All right, as for the latest Major League Baseball trade rumors here, let's begin first with Juan Soto of the San Diego Padres. Over the last couple of weeks, Juan Soto, one of the more feared young hitters in Major League Baseball, has been talked about as a guy who could get dealt. But according to Bob Nightengale of USA Today, Baseball Insider, he reported this, that as of right now, quote, there has been no hint that Juan Soto is available. Instead, the underachieving Padres are more likely to shop Josh Hader or Blake Snell. For a team that's looking for a really good bullpen arm, Hader's been one of the best in the business for the last several years, and then Blake Snell putting together a really good season this year as a starter who's been dealing. And for San Diego, they haven't been shy in spending money, stacking up their roster, but in a loaded NL West, they are currently in third place as of this recording on Wednesday, and they are massively underachieving up to this point, which is why they might be sellers going into the deadline. As for what Soto's been able to do this year, he's been able to heat up just a little bit over the last couple of weeks, although in July, he's still struggling a bit. The average is up to 262. He was underwhelming to begin the season. 20 home runs, 61 ribbies, as well as 94 walks. Those 94 walks up there with some of the best hitters in Major League Baseball. But for a guy of this caliber, you expect him to play just a little bit better. It was still good enough to earn him all-star nods in Seattle just a couple of weeks ago. And here's my view with Juan Soto. If the struggles continue for San Diego and Soto's unhappy, and that's been the rumor that he hasn't been himself out there, he has 1 year left on his deal. He's going to be a free agent in 2025. Why not deal him? Because I think San Diego would be able to get a lot of good pieces back and not really miss out on not having Soto in that lineup if they're able to get some good players back in that haul if they do decide to deal him away. As for Blake Snell, he's an interesting piece for a team that might need a starter going into the deadline because he's on an expiring deal. You could go all in on Blake Snell for the back half of the year to try to make that playoff push. He's put together really, really good numbers this year for San Diego. And going back to his tenure with the Tampa Bay Rays, he's been getting it done for a really long time. Because the Padres have been struggling in the win-loss column, he's only 7-8, but as I like to say, wins and losses for a pitcher is extremely overrated. What you look at, whip, strikeouts, innings pitch, ERA, and the ERA is really good, 2.61. He's chucked 114 innings so far with only 64 walks. So his precision and his accuracy, his location has been really spot on here in 2023. And then Josh Hader, this was a big move for San Diego last year when they traded for him in that deal with the Milwaukee Brewers, and it just hasn't translated in a lot of wins. Now, Hader's velocity down a little bit from when he was throwing in the upper 90s. I saw him throw a couple of weeks ago against the Philadelphia Phillies. He's still hovering in the mid-90s realm. His ERA spectacular, under 1 at .95. Thrown 38 innings up to this point, 58 Ks and a whip of 9.47. He's appeared in 40 games. You can use him as a setup man. You can use him as a closer. And the velocity and the ferocity in which he throws the baseball is very, very violent and elite. He's been one of the better relievers in Major League Baseball for the last several years. Now, I do want to tee this up. We've been doing some more Major League Baseball videos. We're live right now for the first time ever doing some Major League Baseball talk. So if you want more baseball chatter, hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Let's hear from the real seamheads out there. To trade candidate number 2, Nolan Arenado of the St. Louis Cardinals. What a career he's been able to put together. ESPN reporting that, what do you know, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are always aggressive at this point of the calendar year going into the deadline, looking to bulk up that roster to chase another championship, they could be looking at the Cardinals' third baseman. And after making the playoffs last year, St. Louis has been one of the biggest disappointments in baseball. And for the fans there in baseball heaven, I used to work in Springfield, Illinois, a lot of Cardinals fans there, so sometimes my feed is flooded with Cardinals fans. They are absolutely irate with how poor the season has gone, and they might be sellers because of that. Alden Gonzalez with the report here for ESPN on Arenado, saying the Dodgers have long been enamored with Nolan Arenado, 32 years old. They see third base as a need that they'll have to address in the offseason given their present construction. And Nolan Arenado, once again, he's been awesome this year. 287 batting average, 22 home runs, 77 RBIs. But the constant theme with Arenado, whether he was playing with the Colorado Rockies when the hitting numbers were obviously inflated a little bit in the Mile High City, or with St. Louis in baseball heaven, he has been a straight-up stout defender, holding it down on that third base corner. 0 errors so far for Nolan Arenado as of this recording on Wednesday. And what a career he's been able to put together. It really is crazy when you put it into context. An 8-time All-Star, and since his rookie year up to this point, he's been in the bigs for 10 years. He has won 10 straight Gold Gloves. One of the best defensive third basemen of this generation. So let's ask you this now. Which player is more likely to get dealt by the Major League Baseball trade deadline? You can ask us what question we think here on the show, but also we want to hear from you down in the comment section as well. This will be our pinned comment, so if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, just scroll on down and get those votes in. Of course, we can't talk about Major League Baseball trade rumors without including Shohei Ohtani. Jeff Passon, ESPN, speedy recovery to him, putting together his list of teams that are in on Ohtani up to this point. Texas Rangers, Los Angeles Dodgers, Tampa Bay Rays, Toronto Blue Jays, Arizona Diamondbacks, as well as the Baltimore Orioles. And all of these teams, there's a consistent theme here, right? They all have a bevy of prospects that they can include to send to the Angels so that they can start that rebuilding process. If I'm LA, I'm thinking about trading Ohtani, and if I do, I'm trading away Trout as well. I'm just completely tearing it down and starting over in the hopes that you can be competitive over the next few years. But also, the theme outside of the Dodgers, all of these teams are on the precipice of either making the playoffs or making their imprint in the National League or American League playoffs, and they need that one horse to get them over the top. And that's exactly what Shohei Ohtani is. Last 4 years, hitting .299 this year, 36 jacks, 77 RBIs with an OPS north of 1. And then last year, still really good, .273 average with 34 home runs, 95 ribbies, and an .875 OPS. The year before that was when he was the MVP. He was able to notch a .257 average with 46 jacks, 100 RBIs, and a .965 OPS. And in 2020, that's when he was injured with that Tommy John surgery, the numbers down, but obviously 2021, 2022, 2023, the direct indication of how special he is as a hitter. But a reason why the Angels would be able to get a lot back, this guy's a unicorn. He's one of the more unique athletes, not just baseball players, that we've ever seen. And while his numbers, a little bit down on the bump this year in 2023, he's still capable of putting forward what he did in 2022 when he was chucking 15-9, 2.33 ERA, a whip just north of 1 with 219 Ks. This year, 8-5, 3.71 ERA, the whip a little bit up from last year as well. Still on pace for a lot of strikeouts because of the velocity and the off speed that he can mix in. And then in 2021, after the injury, 9-2 with a 3.18 ERA, the whip in a good spot, and once again, able to strike out a lot of guys. And his numbers this year, you put them side by side, imagine the impact that he can have. Like, he can play every night as a designated hitter now that that rule translates to the NL, so you don't have to worry about that. If that was the case, Bryce Harper wouldn't be able to play last year because he was playing with a torn UCL and was able to DH and had one of the best postseasons that we've ever seen. 299 average, 8-5 on the bump. His WAR obviously really high just because of the imprint that he can have on the game. Just an all-around dominant player who is so unique with his ability to pitch at such a high level, but to hit at such a high level. I don't even think he's comparable to Babe Ruth. I think he's better just because the modern athlete is a lot better, and he's just filthier. I had an opportunity to watch him against the Texas Rangers in Arlington a couple of weeks ago. He went oppo boppo, like 400-plus feet to left center, and was really good on the mound as well. So with Shohei Ohtani, it's certainly a fascinating situation. Do you think he's going to get traded? Do you think he's going to stay with the Los Angeles Angels? That is up for you to guess on right now in the comments section. Just give us a T for trade and S for stay here at Chat Sports. If you're new to us, we love hearing from the audience, so let us know down in the comments section. And if you want to interact with me on Twitter and Instagram, you can find me here. It's the same handle on both social media platforms, at Chase_Senior. Let's throw this in there as well to round out the show. Bob Nightengale, we talked about him earlier with that Juan Soto report. The Tampa Bay Rays engaged in serious talks with the Chicago White Sox for veteran starter Lance Lynn. Two sides have already exchanged names. And Lance Lynn has struggled this year. He's 6-9 with the 6.18 ERA, but you know that he's going to give you a lot of innings pitched. You know that he's a dog. He is not going to fear the big stage. And I think that sometimes when pitchers go to a new destination in the midst of a playoff run, they get that adrenaline rush. The velo goes up a little bit, and they get recharged by the change of scenery. That could happen with Lance Lynn. The Chicago White Sox, no fans go to their games. They've been an awful team. He goes to a team like the Rays who are in the mix, and I think that he could perform better, and Tampa Bay does a great job of developing and working with their pitchers. Thanks for watching our Major League Baseball content. You are all the best. Obviously, we're trying out some new content here on Chat Sports, and you're a real one if you enjoyed what we did today. All right, comment real one. Shout out Ryan Harris's brother. It's his birthday. Robert just gave me a follow on Instagram. Thank you, my guy. I do appreciate that. We have Robert, Jose Perez, and XD Gamer all in the chat. Brother John Causey, he's been with us from the jump. Jose Perez saying, I would love Trout to get traded to my Phillies. He belongs home. Jose, I'm from Westchester, right outside of Philadelphia. He should have came a couple of years ago. He decided to go back to L.A. and sign that long-term extension. I think it's worked out for Philly. I'd rather have Bryce Harper than Manny Machado, and they were kind of in an arms race for who the Phillies were going to sign. Bryce Harper, he kind of exemplifies what Philadelphia wants in its athletes. Mike Trout, obviously, from across the bridge in New Jersey. Here's our Super Chat menu. Does anybody want to donate to the show? Does anybody want to show us some love? Does anybody want us to have fun here on the program? You send us in $5, we'll talk about your team. $10, I'll sip some beer out of this beer bat. $20, we'll bang the Astros trash can. $50, I'll put a whole beer in this beer bat. And for a $100 donation, I'll do an entire beer boot. That's 3 beers in this boot that I'll take down. If you want to support the show, we thank you in advance for tuning into the show and being a part of it here as we're talking some Major League Baseball live on Chat Sports. So continue to keep that comment section going, like the video, and make sure you subscribe to the show as well. Coming up next on the program, Shohei Ohtani trade ideas. Let's do it right now. Heading into the Major League Baseball trade deadline on Tuesday, will Shohei Ohtani get dealt by the Los Angeles Angels? We're going to talk about that on today's show, but also take a look at some trade ideas put together by Fox Sports. I have a lot of thoughts on the plethora of trades that they put up. But first, if you want to support what we do here at Chat Sports, a couple of ways for you to do that. Like the video, you can comment and share your thoughts because I know a lot of you have some smart baseball intellect in between your ears, but also subscribe to us as we continue to give you some great coverage here on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. So as for the latest on Shohei Ohtani, nobody really knows what the Angels are going to do. Kind of comes down to Art Moreno, the Angels owner. He has said that he's unwilling to trade Ohtani because he doesn't want to be known as the owner who traded one of baseball's GOATs because of him just being an unbelievable two-way player. But my thoughts on this, Ohtani is going to enter Major League Baseball free agency. He is going to get a bag, maybe become the highest paid player in the history of the sport because of his two-way impact. So if he's going to leave anyway, and you're going to allow him to walk or don't re-sign him and get nothing back, why not just trade him? I don't think the Angels are going to make the playoffs. I don't take them as a serious contender, even though guys like Mickey Moniak are starting to step up a little bit this year. Get a haul back, trade Mike Trout this offseason, then you put yourself in a really good position to rebuild, retinker, and reload with so many prospects to once again become competitive somewhere down the road. You look at Ohtani's numbers over the last 4 years, this warrants a historic trade package here. This year, his slash line hitting, .299, 36 home runs, leads Major League Baseball, 77 RBIs, and an OPS that's crazy. And the sample size has been there for a really long time. He hits with power. He throws with power, too. You look at his pitching numbers. This year, the number's down as that ERA is approaching 4, but 3.71, you'll certainly take that. The whip up from a year ago, but 148 Ks. He's still throwing gas, and even if he wears down a little bit as a pitcher at some point when he gets older, because you have to imagine a team's going to give him a long-term contract extension, he's still going to give you a power bat in that lineup who can bat really anywhere because he's a really good athlete who can also steal some bases. Shohei Ohtani, ladies and gentlemen, truly is one of one. And if I'm the Angels, I understand the emotional attachment that you have for a guy who you discovered, you convinced him to come to your organization, but it hasn't resulted in wins. It hasn't resulted in playoff appearances. You haven't made the playoffs since, 2018, and that's with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. To operate a business, you have to have that foresight, and you have to look into the future. Part of that is making some tough business decisions, and if Ohtani's going to walk anyway and not return to your organization, trade him and get a haul back, as evidenced by the trade packages we're about to break down. Make sure you join us on Tuesday. We will be going live for the Major League Baseball trade deadline right here on Chat Sports. You don't want to miss our coverage. We'll keep you in the know with all of the moves that happen, some of the discussions and rumors heading into the deadline. Hit that sub button right now and lock us in. So without further ado, drum roll, please. Ohtani trade number one. It's a deal with the Seattle Mariners. And of course, Seattle does have that international history with Ichiro Suzuki coming over many years ago at this point. And the Angels here would get back a bevy of prospects here. We're talking Bryce Miller, right-handed pitcher, Cole Young, Emerson Hancock, so you get a good position player in Cole Young. Couple of pitchers here. You get Cade Marlowe, the outfielder, and then Ashton Izzy, the right-handed pitcher. The Mariners get Shohei Ohtani. Fox Sports on this trade saying this: Mariner fans made their hopes and dreams quite clear during the All-Star game at T-Mobile Park with their emphatic "Come to Seattle" chants during Ohtani's at-bats, and it's safe to assume they'll make a push for him this winter after coming up short in 2017. That's another reason that they could be in on Ohtani. They missed out on him a few years ago. But amidst an underwhelming encore to their breakthrough 2022 campaign, does it make sense to push a ton of chips in for Ohtani via a trade? That's a fair question with an answer that should crystallize in the coming weeks. For the purposes of this exercise, though, let's say trader Jerry Dipoto is ready and eager to make a massive splash at the deadline, one that could make last summer's Luis Castillo acquisition look like child's play. So that's the Seattle Mariners. How about the San Diego Padres? This has been an organization that's been extremely aggressive over the last few years with that new management and front office. The Angels get a lot here as well, and that's really the common theme with all of these trades because we're talking about Shohei Ohtani, Samuel Zavala, Jairo Iriarte, Jackson Wolf, Ryan Berger, Jacob Marcy, and Kevin Kopps. A.J. Preller, not really scared to spend money, make big moves, and be aggressive. It's a big reason why San Diego finally broke through last year after a couple of playoff appearances and made it to the NLCS before losing to the Phillies. Fox Sports on the Padres element of this. The easiest path to a deal might be leading with shortstop prospect Jackson Merrill or 17-year-old phenom backstop Ethan Salas, but I'd assume he's going to be completely untouchable, and Merrill close to it as well. Instead, let's try to overwhelm Anaheim with the variety plate of lower-level upside plays, a diverse array of players on upward trajectories. So we have two teams down. Let's go to Shohei Ohtani trade number 3 from Fox Sports. And the Angels make a deal in this instance with the San Francisco Giants. One of the big players to keep an eye on here is Luis Matos, who just got called up somewhat recently. Angels would also get Carson Wisenhunt, Reggie Crawford, who's a two-way player like Shohei Ohtani. More thoughts on him coming up. Wade Meckler, and then Helio Ramos. Matos in 2023 in the big leagues. Much anticipated debut for him. Highly touted prospect in their minor league system. 112 ABs, 29 hits, 1 home run, and 8 RBIs. The batting average under 300, but he's a young player who's going to be able to mold into him. Funny story here. Reggie Crawford included in this trade. I actually covered him at North Schuylkill High School in Pennsylvania in the Cole region. And what's ironic about this is that the Angels would lose Shohei Ohtani, a two-way player and a unicorn, but then they would get back Reggie Crawford. Fox Sports write-up on Crawford. He's a two-way consolation prize here. Drafted out of UConn a year ago, he was originally committed to Tennessee, but because he was slotted in that first round, he elected to forego that eligibility to go in the Major League Baseball draft to be that first rounder. The 22-year-old might be the most intriguing pitcher-hitter currently in minor league baseball. Crawford's development road will be long, and he only recently returned from Tommy John rehab, but the upside is sky high, and who knows how to handle two-way dudes better than Anaheim. Exactly right. He can throw in the upper 90s, and he can hit some bombs as well. Shout out Reggie Crawford. So which team has the best offer for Shohei Ohtani up to this point? This will be our pinned comment. So if you see it down there, make sure you go on down and let us know which squad can put together the best package for Shohei. To Ohtani trade number 4. This is a deal with the Philadelphia Phillies, and I actually like this trade for Los Angeles. They get Mick Abel as one of the top prospects in that Phillies system. Bryson Stott, who's been awesome this year at second base. Hyu Lee, an infielder. Alex McFarland, and then Brian Rincon. Bryson Stott, in my opinion, should be untouchable. This is a homegrown developmental piece for Philadelphia who played a critical role in being clutch for that team en route to the World Series last year. He showed a lot of plate discipline. He showed a lot of offensive and defensive ability. He did play shortstop last year and then made the switch to second base because the Phillies brought in Trey Turner and they let Gene Segura walk. Bryson Stott this year has been awesome. On Tuesday night, had a game-winning hit in the bottom of the ninth, or a game-tying hit, in the bottom of the ninth against the Baltimore Orioles. Plate discipline, clutch, cool, calm, and collected. 300 batting average this year with 9 home runs, 37 RBIs. The OPS not great, but he's just an all-around baseball player, as my guy Jack Fritz would say. And his spray chart goes to show you that he can spray the ball to all fields. And I think that over time, he's just going to continue to get better and better. And if I'm Philadelphia, you hit on the draft pick. You know that he's going to be a stud. He's not worth giving up for a player that you might lose in Ohtani. Continue to develop your organization and your culture with Bryson Stott. Shout out to the daycare. Ohtani trade number 5. Jasson Dominguez with the New York Yankees, Oswald Peraza, Spencer Jones, and Gleyber Torres. The Yankees would then receive Shohei Ohtani. Dominguez, one of the most hyped international prospects ever. He was getting some comps to Bo Jackson and Mickey Mantle as he's come up throughout that system. Now, this year, he's been a little bit underwhelming playing in Somerset, New Jersey. 220 batting average with 12 home runs, 46 RBIs, but 26 stolen bases. So that's why with the speed element to his game, he draws some of those comps. I reached out to my guy, Gary Sheffield Jr., who covers Major League Baseball, the son of Gary Sheffield, and I asked him about that New York Yankees trade. He said, it's possible Ohtani decides being a Yankee in the thick of a race is what he wants, making this trade worth it. It's possible Brian Cashman decides he doesn't want to mortgage his 2025 group, and that's too much of a risk. Either way you slice it, passing on or saying yes to an Ohtani deal is a risk for all parties. He continued by saying, based on his track record, Cashman will make marginal improvements both in left field and at third base, and Ohtani will head to free agency, choosing the Dodgers or Mariners. So that's his prediction on the back end of that from Chef Jr. Ohtani trade number 6. Speaking of the Dodgers, as producer Jack just said in my ear, this one, you get 6 players here that would go to the Dodgers. Emmett Sheehan, Gavin Stone, Michael Busch, Dalton Rushing, Andy Pages, River Ryan. The Dodgers then get Ohtani. And I like this trade for Los Angeles because they give all that up for Ohtani, but they don't risk losing him because I think that Ohtani would want to return to Los Angeles. Given the proximity to his home country of Japan, he might want to stay on that West Coast, which is why the Dodgers have been talked about, as well as the Seattle Mariners, because it's a quick flight, not a quick flight, but a faster flight as compared to being on the East Coast across the Pacific Ocean. And then a team like the Texas Rangers, who this year under Bruce Bochy have been in the mix in the AL West prior to the series this week against the Houston Astros, in which Chas McCormick has been going off. Jack Leiter, who's been awful so far. He has an ERA in the mid-5 so far for the Texas Rangers. Been a massive disappointment since getting drafted out of Vanderbilt, but maybe the Angels can get him right. You pair him up with Reed Detmers, and maybe you have 2 young pitchers who you can continue to mold around. Owen White, Ezekiel Duran is really the name that's been talked about here that would have to get included for the Angels to be in on making this trade for Ohtani, because they might lose him if they're trying to chase that World Series. Aaron Zavala, Justin Foscue, and Emiliano Teatro, the players also in that deal for Texas. So that is 7 trade ideas that we're breaking down here on the program today. Major League Baseball talk live here on Chat Sports. What's the best Ohtani trade that you believe we discussed, or another one if you want to get in the shoes of a general manager that you could cook up right now? All right, we can go through some of your questions here. Some of you have used the hashtag MLB, so get those in right now, and we'll filter through some of what you've had to say throughout the show today. More than 70 people watching live with 43 likes. Appreciate everybody for watching. Brother John, using the hashtag MLB, what do you think the Cardinals will do at the deadline? Man, we're about to talk about the top 20 trade candidates going into the deadline. There are several Cardinals players who are on that list. Nolan Arenado, obviously one of the big ones, but more thoughts on that coming up, Brother John, so stay tuned, but they could be big sellers going into the deadline. Milky, what would the Miami Marlins need to do to make it to the World Series? They've really struggled over the last couple of weeks. They've been one of the pleasant surprises in Major League Baseball. I just think that they don't have the necessary big game, big moment experience to be a serious threat to win the World Series. Now, a couple of years ago, they surprised the Chicago Cubs and won in that first-round series. But, you know, at this point, they just need more consistent production, and I'm not sure they have the star power to seriously contend and win a couple of series. Robert, most overrated and underrated player in Major League Baseball. I'm not just saying this because I'm a Phillies fan. I think that Bryce Harper is criminally underrated. This guy has been in the spotlight since he's been a teenager. He's been a superstar. He's won 2 MVPs. He's been a sensational player, and somehow, some way, people underrate him. What he did in the playoffs last year, he put the Phillies on his back. He was sensational. It was one of the best runs ever for an individual player en route to a World Series appearance. So I'm going to go Bryce Harper. Most overrated? Jack, you got any thoughts there? Most overrated player in Major League Baseball? Yeah, he's just not good anymore. Yeah, that's a tough question.
This is different than like
I'll tell you right now, Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer have sucked this year, but they're a little bit older, so I'm not sure they're overrated.
The Mets in general are like the most overrated team in baseball.
Yeah, Mets overrated.
The biggest disappointment.
Sure. Yeah.
For sure.
That's a good question. Got to think about that one, Robert. Good stuff pressing us right there. Daniel, the Rangers need a starter and 2 relievers. Can they make those moves at the deadline? Of course. With the Rangers, it's all about what they're willing to give up. That's really what it comes down to. And then Michael Shin, what do the Yankees need to do at the deadline since they are undecided? A lot of chatter about them wanting to stay under the luxury tax. It's weird that Brian Cashman is not aggressive, and it's weird that that's kind of been the Yankees' DNA the last few years. They need more consistent hitting. They fired their hitting coach, and it hasn't worked out making the switch. They need to get much better and more consistent hitting, and they just need production from their star players, and getting Aaron Judge back obviously will help. Jeff Reed, what would the O's need to give up in order to trade for Ohtani? They could give up a lot of their prospects, honestly. They give up a lot of their young prospects, and they've done a great job of loading up that cupboard, and they can be a realistic destination for Shohei. I just don't think that he returns, although he'd look fresh in those orange and black uniforms. Crim's dad, what's good, brother? I'll let Marshall know that you were watching the show. Do the Yankees suck this year, or am I just upset with my team? I'm pretty sure they suck. Crim's dad, they suck. I think that in that lineup, I'd be able to hit a little bit better. Every night, you don't know what you're getting. They've been so spotty. For them to have to hire Sean Casey as their hitting coach, hilarious. They've been bad this year and underwhelming, not reaching expectations. So you're right on that, Crim's dad.
I think we learned, and we have learned this season, that without Aaron Judge, this lineup is shambles.
Yeah.
Like, I think Aaron Judge and his record-breaking season last season kind of overshadowed how really mid this Yankees lineup is without him.
And my problem with the Yankees, they've just been so boom or bust over the last few years. Like, they've been in some of those battles with the Houston Astros, but they just rely on the long ball far too much. And when they go on the road, it just doesn't translate. All right. Speaking of Crim's dad, he's a big super chatter on New York Knicks now, New York Giants now. Here's our super chat menu. No donations in yet. Let me say this. We get a $20 super chat. I'm going to put a whole beer in this bat, and I'm going to drink it right now. A $20 super chat, that's $50 value. More than 50% off. $20 super chat, a whole beer goes in the bat, and I'm taking down the whole thing right now. So that's what I'll do. Beer bat right now for a $20 super chat. $5, we'll talk about your squad. $10 a sip out of the beer bat, but at this point, I just want to chug a full beer. What can bang the Astros can if you're an Astros hater, and $100 for a beer boot. That's three beers inside this beer boot right here. But for a 20, whole beer in here, and I'm taking it all down. MLB live on Chat Sports. Rick Nyers, he's not going anywhere until free agency. You talking about Shohei here, Rick? Yeah, could be a possibility. Rick Nyers, appreciate you for watching the show, man. Always watches me on Warriors Today and the 49ers Report. What's up, Jack?
I do want to make this point about Shohei that I've kind of been thinking about over the past week or so. Don't be surprised if he actually doesn't get traded. Because I was talking to my dad about this because we were talking about Fox Sports did more trade ideas than the ones that we talked about. We talked about the ones that seemed the most realistic.
Yeah.
They did one for the Red Sox, which happened to be my favorite team. And the quality of prospects they were asking the Red Sox to give up was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I responded to that graphic saying, never in a million years would I make this trade for a rental. And that's really, unless you're the Dodgers or the Mariners or like the Giants, any other team, you are gambling with him being a rental for just the second half of the season. So are you really going to get rid of your future and just ship off all of your high-quality prospects for half a season rental?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be cool to have Shohei. You're going to sell tickets, but is that really worth it? I don't think so.
Yeah. Daniel making a good point here for the Rangers, that the Rangers can afford Leiter, Foscue, and others for Stroman and Bellinger. So you'd get Bellinger as well as Stroman and not have to give up as much for Shohei Ohtani. I kind of like that because then, you have more of an opportunity to kind of not really give up too many prospects and keep that farm system somewhat loaded up. So I like that. Good stuff right there from Daniel as we continue to move forward with the show. All right, our last segment of the day, the top 20 Major League Baseball trade candidates. That's what's coming up right now. Once again, the offer still stands. $20 whole beer in the beer bat right now. Let's break down these top 20 trade candidates, though, first. And then if you have a question at the end of the show, you can use hashtag MLB. Welcome in. We're talking some Major League Baseball right here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. No matter where you are or how you're tuned in, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. As for what we're discussing on the program here, a look at the top 20 players who could get dealt leading up to the Major League Baseball trade deadline, which is approaching very quickly on August 1st. We're going to be live for it, so make sure you subscribe. I also want to hear from you down in the comment section right now. We're looking at the top 20 Major League Baseball trade candidates. Outside of Shohei Ohtani, who is Major League Baseball's top trade candidate? Drop me a name right now in the comment section. Let's begin at number 20. Longtime veteran Rich Hill, the lefty, checks in to begin our list. You have Scott Barlow, who's a right-handed pitcher for the Kansas City Royals. He's going to come in at number 19. Two themes here with Pittsburgh and KC. Not really players to make a run at a playoff spot. Sellers going into the deadline. Randall Grichuk has put together a really solid season for the Colorado Rockies, and I actually want to take a look at his numbers because this is a deadline positional player in bat that I do believe could help a team greatly. .313 batting average this year, 6 home runs. OBP not great at .370 considering where the average is, but you'll take the average any day with an OPS of .857, top 3 in his career up to this point. We move forward with number 17, Lane Thomas, an outfielder with the Washington Nationals. The Nats have been one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball this year. And then Aaron Savale, the right-handed pitcher with the Cleveland Indians. The Indians, under 500, the Guardians, that's in the memory bank here. They still have an opportunity at making a playoff push, but we'll see what happens in the days leading up to the deadline and what they decide to do under skipper Terry Francona. Now, if you want more Major League Baseball coverage, the solution is very simple. You just show us some love by hitting that thumbs up icon and liking the video. Now let's pivot inside the top 15. Lance Lynn, been in the league for a really long time. He's pitched in a lot of monster playoff games, whether it be with the St. Louis Cardinals or the Texas Rangers. We are recording this on Wednesday, so keep that in mind that by the time that you watch this, Lance Lynn may have already been moved because according to Bob Nightengale, baseball insider for USA Today, the Tampa Bay Rays engaged in serious talks with the Chicago White Sox for the veteran. His ERA this year, north of 6. But how many times have we seen these big game pitchers who are gamers in general go to a new destination? They're re-energized by a change of scenery. They get a little bit of that adrenaline. The Rays have done a great job in working with and developing pitchers. Maybe they could get Lance Lynn on track, and he could be that big arm down the stretch for Tampa Bay. Elias Diaz, the first catcher in the history of the Rockies organization to make an all-star game a few weeks ago in Seattle. He could get dealt. Pretty cool story with him. He's in his early 30s by the time he made that first All-Star game and had the game-winning hit, which is why he was the All-Star game MVP as the National League, able to get that first win over the AL for the first time in more than a decade. Really good year this year and a very good defensive player. 0 errors committed, as noted on your screen. Given how bad the Rockies are, still 48 RBIs with 10 home runs and a .270 batting average. We'll see what happens with the Chicago Cubs. They're in the mix. They've been one of the surprise teams so far. David Ross, I think, has done a good job managing that team. Cody Bellinger, obviously a player who they could trade as well. Yan Gomes, one of the other ones coming in at number 13. Couple of Nats players on this list, Kyle Finnegan being one of them, the right-handed pitcher. And let's talk about Cody Bellinger, right? He has put together a masterful season here in 2023. It's been great to see the former MVP rebound after a couple of bad seasons with the Los Angeles Dodgers, in which his numbers really plummeted. So too did his value. That's why he signed that short-term contract for cheap with Chicago on a little bit of a prove-it deal. There's a lot of buzz right now that he could get traded to the New York Yankees. They need to upgrade one of those corner outfield spots, and he could be the answer. He is having a tremendous July, as we're about to show you, but this year, putting together a really, really good campaign. .314 batting average with 14 home runs, 45 RBIs, and an OPS of 903. Check out his numbers this month, though. As of this recording on Wednesday, in July, he's cooking, man. 429, 7 of those home runs. So half of that output coming in this month alone, and we're not even done the month yet with 23 RBIs and 9 strikeouts. I was talking to Matthew Peterson, a Cubs fan here, and he said basically every time you turn on a Cubs game at this point in July, he's either hitting a home run or he's knocking in a run because he's been in fuego. Shout out to Stuart Scott. Will the Yankees buy or sell at the deadline? That is our pressing question for today's show. Just give us a B for buy and S for sell. I know that Brian Cashman's kind of been lackluster the last couple of years running baseball ops for New York. Inside the top 10 now, Michael Lorenzen putting together a solid season if you're looking for a pitcher there in Detroit. Jordan Hicks, the 26-year-old flamethrower, is a guy who can really bulk up your pitching staff. You know he's going to bring the heat. Paul DeJong, shortstop for St. Louis. What's the theme here? The Cardinals have a couple of players on this list because they might sell. They've been so disappointing. Yeimer Candelario, the third baseman for the Washington Nationals, another player on this list who could get dealt. And then you have to take a look at Josh Hader, who could really bolster the back end of your bullpen. It can be an elite setup man. He can come in, close some games for you. His season this year has been very, very dominant. Did blow a game against the Phillies recently in which Bryce Harper hit a line shot to center field, but 38 innings pitched, an ERA under 1, 58 Ks, and a whip of 9.47. We have some Major League Baseball hats on sale, by the way. In order to get this deal, you just have to use that link right below me. It's chatsports.com/MLB hats. We have hats for every squad across Major League Baseball and some great deals, too, on the site, all thanks to our friends at Fanatics. We're going to put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. Not only can you check out all teams in Major League Baseball, but multiple different styles for those teams. Now things get interesting with our top 5 Major League Baseball trade candidates. Blake Snell has been dealing this year. Really good pitcher who has an ERA way south of 3. Jordan Montgomery, another one of those really good arms coming in at number 4. I want to spend some time talking about Marcus Stroman here of the Chicago Cubs. Big few days coming up for Chicago in the lead up to the deadline. Are they going to buy? Are they going to sell? I've always loved Stroman's game. I love how he's represented Team USA in the past in the World Baseball Classic. The intensity in which he pitches with, the athleticism that he has is evidenced by him making plays in the field, but also having a really good arm. 10-7 this year for Chicago, an ERA just north of 3. He's been a workhorse throughout his career. 122 and a third innings pitch with 105 Ks in that span. Then you look at a player like Lucas Giolito, former Red Sox, of course, as producer Jack is pointing out. What'd you say? Oh, you think he's going to get traded to the Red Sox. Lucas Giolito, confusing me a little bit there. He thinks he's going to get traded to the Boston Red Sox. He comes in at number 2. And, of course, look, I know that a lot of you have been watching a lot of our Major League Baseball trade content. Shohei Ohtani is the clear-cut number 1 trade candidate on this list. Now, Juan Soto is not on this top 20 because, according to Bob Nightengale, he's not going to get traded. But with Ohtani, special player who can impact the game, obviously, on the bump, but also hitting as well. This year, slash line really, really good, 299, 77 RBIs, and he's approaching 40 home runs once again. Slugging percentage is really good. The OPS, very, very excellent. Then the on-base percentage at nearly 400, and then pitching, a little bit down from last year, but still 8-5 at the 3.71. I think down the stretch, he loves to play in big games. I mean, we saw it in the Major League Baseball Classic Championship game. He was throwing cheddar. He was dominant. He can be reliable on the hill and is very dominant on both ends of the spectrum. So if you're enjoying our Major League Baseball coverage, type me down in the chat right now. Obviously doing a lot of different things here on the show. And if you're enjoying it, please let us know. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I was very confused by that. PG saying, are the Orioles buying? Look, they have the #1 record in the AL as of right now. So I would if I'm Baltimore. They have a really good team. Daniel, me, Robert, me. We have Jacob, Josh Prince all in the chat right now as well. Good stuff. Let's run through some questions and then we'll hop on out of here. Daniel, can the Rangers go get Stroman and Cody Bellinger from the Cubs? Also, what would the package look like? Yeah, I think they could. And I was talking about that a little bit earlier. So you think about what the Rangers could offer here. I was looking at their top prospects a little bit earlier in that Texas Rangers trade idea. Can you get away with not trading away Ezekiel Duran? That's really what the prospect that you want to hold on to. Now, can you include Jack Leiter, change of scenery, get him out of there? He's been awful with that ERA sitting in the mid-5s. Owen White, Aaron Zavala, Justin Foscue, Emiliano Teatto. Like, can you include those players for both? Potentially. And I would like that. I think you need another bat. You need another starting pitcher. Honestly, the bullpen for Texas has been really bad as well. Robert, top 5 Major League Baseball teams. You have to go Braves #1, of course. And then after that, man, Baltimore 62-39. Tampa Bay 62-43. Houston's making a charge. Last 10 games, they're 7-3. I can't put Philadelphia in there, even though they've been better in the month of July and June as well. They're only 54-47. Milwaukee, no. Dodgers 58-42. Honestly, it's kind of an AL heavy list. Jack, what do you think?
This isn't an order. This is just 5. And they're obviously the ones with the best records. The Orioles and Rays. Rays have dipped a little bit. The Orioles have gotten hot, but I still think the Rays are one of, if not the best team in the AL in terms of just their rosters absolutely stacked. And I would never want to face their lineup on a bad day. This is technically 6 because right now I still think the Rangers are pretty good, but the Astros are surging. So that's 4 out of the AL, and then the Braves and the Dodgers. And then I'll give an honorable mention to the Astros. I'll give an honorable mention to the Diamondbacks. But yeah, that's who I got.
Yeah,
right
D-backs have been a surprise team as well.
I will also note, and this isn't just because they're my favorite team. The Red Sox have been surging in July. So just watch out for them in a wild card spot. That might happen.
You can tell he really likes the Red Sox. 6-4 last 10, 3-game winning streak. Yeah, there he is. You can tell he's a Red Sox fan. Big Papi, David Ortiz on the threads. All right, so 3 segments in the books for our first ever Major League Baseball live. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. I can't imagine we're going to loop, right? No? Yeah, cool. 64 people kicking it with us, 52 likes. Let's do this. 1 minute. If we get a $20 super chat in the next minute, I'm putting a whole beer in here, and I'm taking it down. So I'm going to go 1 minute on the shot clock. If anybody wants to send in a $20 super chat, whole beer out of the beer bat. These things are a lot of fun. So we'll put 1 minute on the clock, and if not, we're going to hop on out of here right after that. Daniel, Robert, both in the chat. Daniel saying, since the Rangers need bullpen help, what about Kendall Graveman and Joe Kelly from the White Sox? How about Nick Pivetta? How about Nick Pivetta from the Red Sox? He's been really, really good. Nick Pivetta, really good arm. To the Rangers for a bullpen arm. They really need a back-end bullpen arm.
I mean,
now, they traded for Aroldis Chapman, right? But if you want to be serious about winning a World Series, that's a guy.
I mean, yeah, so he was a starter. They sent him to the bullpen. The thing I like about Pivetta, and this was actually something that was shown last night against the Braves, is he is a bullpen arm now, but he can go for a long, he is a long reliever. He went, I think, 5-6 innings last night in a bullpen game against Atlanta. Yeah. He didn't start the game. He came in the second, but then he went 6 innings. That's a very valuable arm to have. I don't know if the Red Sox will shop him. We'll see, because the bullpen's been a bit iffy for them, and he's been one of the solid pieces. But, I mean, if the Rangers tried to get him, that'd be a pretty decent arm.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, Thanks for watching today's show, Major League Baseball Talk, live here on Chat Sports. Another reminder, as you can see right here, live for the Major League Baseball Trade Deadline on August 1st. Make sure you subscribe. Turn on those notifications by hitting that bell icon. Therefore, when we do go live, you'll know when you can hang out with us. I'm Chase Senior for Jack Lauderay and everybody who tuned in. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.